This conference will now be recorded.
We are here today with another call for Graceful Touch Speaks Out, where we speak with those who are passionate about health and wellness industry in one way or another. Now, I've got a special guest with us today who has written a book that just totally fascinates me. The title, it's called Blessed with a Brain Tumor. And my guest will be Will Pye. He is a transitional coach who specializes in helping others acclimatize their pain and traumas into radical gratitude. Will Pye, go ahead and come on in and welcome to the call.
Thank you, Guy. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you here as well. So I do have a question before we get started. And can you explain to me what a transitional coach is?
Well, it's actually a transformational coach.
I'm sorry, yes. Transformational coach is.
Basically, I support people at various points in their life, often in times of great suffering or difficulty, whether it's a health challenge, mental health, or physical health, or losing jobs or divorces, or that seems to be a lot of the people I work with. They're in a point of great suffering or a spiritual emergency or a spiritual emergence. And as a transformational coach, I hold space for people and support them, facilitate them in creating transformation in every domain of their life, in their physical body, in their subtle energy system, in their emotional body, and in their outer life, in their relationships, in their jobs, and so
on. Okay. So is the book that you read that is Blessed by a Brain Tumor kind of a culmination, or how does that relate to being a transformational coach?
Well, the subtitle of Blessed with a Brain Tumor is realizing it's all gift and learning to receive. And this is basically pointing to the idea, which is a foundational part of my philosophy, that life is happening for us. And that includes the shitty stuff, the real difficulties, pain, depression, potentially terminal illnesses. And in fact, the times of greatest darkness and greatest suffering are the times of greatest potency and potential for transformation. And that's really, for me, what alchemy is allowing our own loving awareness to meet those suffering parts of our being, and in so doing to transform them.
Got it. Now, as I understand it, this book title has personal application or personal investment. It's coming like from personal experience in some way?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2011. And yeah, still here today, which is obviously a pleasing outcome. And the moment that I was diagnosed, I had this sense of, oh, this will make a really great story, because my immediate response was not one of doom or gloom or anxiety or stress, which I think is a common reaction to such news, but rather there was a sense of potential. And that, you know, because my experience in life has been that the greatest challenges have been the greatest opportunities to learn, to heal. And I had the sense that, oh, I'll resolve this, and I'll be able to help others resolve their own. You know, I thought I'd be able to focus on cancer or you know, terminal conditions, but as it is, I help people in all manner of circumstances.
I'm going to stop you for just 1 second, and that is because
sure.
you said something that I thought was just amazing. my greatest challenges are my greatest opportunities. Did I get that right?
Yeah, yeah. So my
Hmm.
that began with my parents went through quite a brutal, bitter divorce from about I was 11 to 13, and it was horrific and you know a really tough time for my whole family and my sister and myself. But there was some part of me was aware that this was somehow good, that it was going to help me really sort of turbocharge my individuation. Obviously, 11 to 13, you're going through puberty and separating from the family and becoming your own person. And it kind of turbocharged that process such that I really ruthlessly rejected all that I had been brought up with, all that society and my parents had told me was true about reality, and was inspired to really go on the search to understand what
So,
this crazy world is all about.
so the concepts and the thought processes put into Blessed by a Brain Tumor actually it can catalyze a catalyst back to even your childhood, where you had this foundational thought process of you know looking at negative in a positive light way back then you come forward in 2011 and you get your own, you get your own individualized, not that you don't, within a divorce everybody's involved. I know I've experienced that in my own life, but you then come forward to 2011 when you get a doctor's report that you did not want to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now
And interestingly,
2011, that's,
it was also
go
true
ahead.
that over the 10 years prior to the diagnosis, I'd been studying mind-body medicine, I'd been studying energy healing, I'd been studying consciousness, I'd been meditating, doing yoga. I'd become a vegetarian for many years by that point. I actually started eating meat again after I was diagnosed, but that's a whole other story. But that 10 years of what I thought was just curiosity, right? Like, you know, I'm going to this energy healing seminar or training to find out what's possible with the power of the mind, rather than because I thought I had anything particular to heal myself. But obviously, on some deep level, I knew, as my Zen teacher, Junpo Dennis Kelly Roshi, said at the time, not long before I was diagnosed, that's just a few months, he said, Will, you're going to have some big shit happen in your life, which of course is true for everyone. You know, we will all have some big shit happen in our life at some point or other.
Sure, sure. Well,
And so it was
go
really
ahead.
curious to look back and go, oh, I kind of prepared for this somehow. I
Mhm.
prepared for this moment. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And that was over a decade ago that this has been, that you were diagnosed, right?
Yeah. And,
2011? Yeah.
and 2 to 3 years is the median survival rate for people diagnosed with this particular type of brain tumor. So I've been very fortunate to be surviving this long, and hopefully I will have many more years to enjoy.
Awesome. Awesome. And talk to me about the years between 2011 and 2023, where we are today.
Mhm.
How have they shaped it? How do they play a part in Blessed by a Brain Tumor?
Well, the book I wrote fairly soon after the diagnosis. I was literally lying in the hospital bed in the minutes after the doctor had said, you know, you've got a lump in your brain. And I thought, blessed with a brain tumor. For some, I just it just sounded like a good title, slightly cheeky, slightly provocative title. And I thought a great narrative, a great story, essentially, you know, true story on which I could hang some wisdom and some helpful perspectives for people. And so I wrote the book and then got around to promoting it. And I ended up traveling around the US and Europe and talking to lots of cancer support communities and spiritual groups and personal development groups, and through that, really a new career developed, which was coaching and teaching. I'd been working in fundraising for many years. I had my own business at the time of the diagnosis. I just gave that over to I made my team leader manager of that business and said, look after it. And if it's still here in a year, that'd be great. But I'm not attached to that. I'm going to focus on this book and doing what I really love, which is working with groups. And I ended up doing retreats in Tennessee, in Scotland, in Italy, and talking to groups all around the world, which I found was really my passion and purpose. And I felt so much joy and goodness doing that work, serving others in their transformation, that I felt really this was the greatest opportunity in the diagnosis and the healing process. It was sort of an initiation, if you like, into a new way of being and a new way of living and serving.
So, do you believe that the book speaks more to I just got the message that I have a brain tumor, or I've got a terminal illness, or the person going directly through the trauma? Or do you believe the book talks to people that are, the spouse of the individual, the family members, the support group? Or do you believe, you're reaching both audiences within what you've provided in your content?
I hope both. I've certainly had readers who have been diagnosed with a brain tumor themselves speak of how inspiring and informative they found it. And I also have had family members say that they found it really helpful for themselves and their partner and so on. So yeah, I've been fortunate to connect with and contribute something positive to the lives of both family members and patients themselves. But ultimately, it's really about life in general rather than just brain tumors. There's a Max Planck quote, the founding father of quantum mechanics. He said, he was a fan of the Tao Te Ching, and he said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And that's really the guiding principle behind alchemy, is that when we change our perception, when we change our habitual thoughts about the world, about ourselves, and about a particular situation, then we actually inform the unified field or the wave potential, if you like, that is the basis of all this apparently physical reality that's arising and falling away every moment, though it looks kind of solid the way our brains structure it. And I find that to be a really profoundly powerful principle, and I think that's what the book is pointing people to, with not just as a theory, but with like, well, this is how I applied it to this fairly challenging circumstance. And that perspective, if I'm diagnosed with a potentially terminal condition and I'm super stressed and fearful, that is, psychoneuroimmunologically speaking, not a helpful response for the body. But if I'm responding with able to maintain some equanimity and even joy and deep peace, that's a really helpful, that's the best way to activate a strong immune response. So it's actually a very practical, pragmatic way of responding to a potentially highly stressful situation.
Within the book, if I read the book and I could only get one gold nugget out of it, and the entire book, I could only pull one thing out of it, what would you want that one thing to be if you were able to tell me what that one thing that you wanted me to get?
The power of your mind, the power of your consciousness, and that in opening up to receiving the love that surrounds us, the positive energy, if you like, that surrounds us, we change our world, and we change the world of our friends and our family and our community.
Awesome. Awesome. So how I look at something, how I view something can make a difference, a world of difference, a life of difference for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Got it.
We tend to, as humans, we tend to suffer not events themselves, but the story that we tell, or the meaning that we make of the events. You know, so someone says something to me and it feels like they're rejecting me, so I tell the story, perhaps unconsciously or subconsciously, that they're rejecting me, and so then I suffer being rejected. But they may not actually be rejecting me; they may just be doing what they're doing, and it happens to resemble, you know, an incident that happened in my life many years ago, or whatever it might be. So being very aware of the meaning that we're giving events. And for me, the most powerful practice in this is a gratitude practice, because it's true that the glass is half full, right? It's true that it's half empty. But if we consider it to be half full, we feel good. And if we consider it to be half empty, we don't feel good. So gratitude for me is like a sort of mental hygiene practice, just as physical exercise is a basic physical health practice to get the blood flowing and energy moving through the body.
Can you give me like one or two, because I've gone in my own life, I've gone through depressive times in my life. And it seems like when that dark cloud is over my head, no matter what people encourage or say, I've still got that dark cloud over my head. I have a feeling I'm not the only one in that boat.
No, absolutely not. Depression is a very, very, very common experience, and is an epidemic globally, especially in the Western world. So I think we're kind of waking up to that it's actually not an unusual thing or an extreme mental health condition. It's very common to experience depression, and yeah, when we're in the midst of it, it can seem very difficult to shift that. And I suggest that one helpful strategy is to not be trying to shift it, not be trying to push it away or transform it, because what we're really doing then, when we're condemning that heaviness in our heart, or the lethargy, or the hopelessness, or however it particularly shows up for our nervous system. For me, it was a real heaviness in the heart, like a pain in the heart. And I would go through periods of intense spiritual practice of yoga and meditation and exercise and so on, and gain some relief. And then it would return. That cloud would once again, or the black dog, as some people call it, would return. And one day, amidst the frustration and observing the resistance to that feeling, I had this very counterintuitive feeling to be grateful for it. So I kind of, almost literally on my knees, I figuratively turned to my pain, to my suffering, to my depression, and I said, thank you. Yeah, thank you for showing up. And in that moment, there was a softening and a loosening, and there was more awareness and love brought into that dark place in my nervous system, in my emotional body, and in my physical body. And
interesting. So
yeah, so it was like really allowing it to be there.
Yeah, so not necessarily enjoying it per se,
No,
but accepting
it's still, yeah, exactly. So it still feels pretty unpleasant, and the human mind is kind of stuck in a bind, in that it's strongly conditioned to be desiring pleasure or good feeling, and being very averse to or pushing away bad feeling or pain.
Well,
Which
it just, that only makes sense. It seems like that, I don't want anything that's painful, and I just want nice, good stuff. But it is
yeah,
part of the human equation, both sides.
yeah. There's an intelligence in it, of course. Like if I'm, yes, and sometimes it's a really profound intelligence. Like if I touch a hot plate, that pain causes me to drop it immediately before I damage my skin of my fingers or whatever. And it could be an intuition with a person that I get a bad feeling about them, and I desire to move away from them, to protect myself from them, or the opposite. You meet someone and you just have this really great feeling being with them, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a nourishing energy field to spend time with. But the problem is mostly that desire and aversion is just running unconsciously. And our depressed parts or our anxious parts want to be met. They want attention. They want awareness. If we imagine that our depressed self is maybe me at 14, or maybe the first time I experienced too much anger that I couldn't handle, and so I suppressed it. Often that's where depression comes from. I found in my experience, and for a lot of people, that there's an anger which we are unwilling to feel because it feels like it would overwhelm us or destroy us. Like literally, an immature nervous system, strong anger. Maybe we've had a parent or a teacher do something that's outrageous, and we feel such fury and anger, but we aren't able to safely and healthily express it. And so we stuff it down in our energy system, and that then manifests as depression many years later, generally. So trauma often will manifest as depression down the track. And the resolution for that, in my experience, is to actually get to the core of it, to allow our awareness to touch the very core of it, which involves sitting with it for a while. So often that would be my practice. If this strong, intense depression would come along, I would go and sit on my meditation mat and sit with it, breathe into it, maybe put a hand on my heart where I'm feeling that depression, and just self-soothe and self-parent in a way. And over time, that allows a loosening and a softening of that dark cloud, or an illumination of that dark cloud.
Wow. I feel like I could just go on for a long time just listening to your counsel and your advice. It's very, very good, and I appreciate that. What I would like to know, though, as we transition a little bit here, is who is the main person? Like if you had an ideal client, if there's only one person that could see this video, who would you want that one person to be? Who do you want to work with?
I want to work with people that are ready, and often what that looks like is they've suffered enough. Like, so often a lot of my most a lot of client, ultimately what gives me joy is to witness a client achieve the transformation, the results that they want. So if I'm working with someone who's suffering from depression and they say, look, I'm generally feeling really good now at the conclusion of our work, or they have a little insight in a moment in a session that allows them to see how they're sort of perpetuating their depression and how they might be able to dissolve it or resolve it. That's where I get the greatest satisfaction. I think we all want to be useful, right? We all want to have function in life. We all want to be able to be of genuine service and help to others. Well, maybe not all of us, but I think most humans are of that mindset. And so that's where I get the great satisfaction and joy. And I find that the clients that are most ready to pop, as it were, or ready to experience those shifts, are often those that have been through some intense suffering. So I found cancer patients, and in fact prisoners. I got to work in maximum security prison in Oregon, and I was really struck by how, I was going there to teach radical gratitude with a yoga volunteer group, and I was quite apprehensive going in, thinking, golly, are these guys? These guys are, most of them are in here for the rest of their lives, and they're in a brutal environment. How are they going to react to this message that everything is workable and that radical gratitude can help us move through challenges gracefully and easily? But what I was pleasantly surprised to hear was these guys, they were just so open to the message, and they were kind of like, yeah, because they've been compelled to make the impossible workable, right? Imagine being in a maximum security prison, getting beaten up and crappy food and being incarcerated, full stop. But that said, I don't have the opportunity to work with residents of prisons generally, and I think there's plenty of people out there who have suffered a lot without being prisoners or without a cancer diagnosis. So I guess to sum that up, I love working with people who are really ready for transformation, who strongly desire to change their experience of life and are willing to implement the practices and to put in the work, to come in with an open heart and an open mind, and be curious about the possibility of completely transforming their life experience.
Very well said. Now, when you were talking about prison and whatnot, I was thinking, if you are living under that dark cloud and you are in that, you might not be in a maximum security prison, but in a way you are.
It can feel like that for sure.
And so what you do and what you help with people is you help people to break out of prison and see a world that is there despite the circumstances, the situations, no matter how grave or not they may be, so that they can rise above the occasion and embrace life fully.
Yeah, rise above and move through. So I think there's two movements often in this process. One is a sort of transcendence to rise above to a perspective that is somewhat above and out of the pain, but ultimately we need to develop the resilience and the capacity to move through the pain.
I like that.
Otherwise,
right,
we're sort of
So somebody's gotten to the end of this video with us, and they're saying, this is for me. Well, how do they contact you, Will? What's the best way to reach out and connect?
My website is willpye.com. Pye is P-Y-E, and there's a contact form on there. And I'm also on Instagram, though I don't spend a lot of time on there, but Will Pye, the Gratitude Guy, is my Instagram handle, and people can message me there. And I'm always happy to jump on a quick call with people to say good day and for them to feel me and me to feel them, and decide whether it's a good fit for us to work together one-on-one. I've also got a couple of group coaching programs coming up. My Living Impeccably group coaching program is one that I haven't run for about 10 years actually, and I'm very excited to be starting it again, because when there's a group of people coming together working with these sorts of principles and practices, it can really accelerate when we're all supporting each other and sharing our challenges and breakthroughs. It can really potentiate and accelerate and catalyze the experience for each individual in that group. So I think that's launching in August. So that's another possibility.
So we've got willpye.com, P-Y-E, and you've got a contact there. Will Pye, the Gratitude Guy, is on Instagram. How would people connect up with this group coaching process? How would they find out more about that?
Well, that'll be launching in August. So I'll soon be communicating with my email list, and I'll be posting on socials as well, on Instagram and Facebook. So join me via my newsletter on willpye.com, Instagram, Facebook, and people will see when that program's ready to relaunch and sign up is open, they'll be able to see those opportunities.
Awesome. I'm going to ask in just a moment for a final thought from you, but just so that people know how to get in touch with me, I am the person that is, co-owner of Graceful Touch Massage Therapy in Rapid City, which is a definite miracle story in and of its own right. If you're in Rapid City, consider stopping by for a massage. We are the leading massage therapist in Rapid City, according to Google. And then if you have a message like Will does here, if you have a message for within the health and wellness industry, reach out to me on Instagram. That's really the best place, as Pain Relief, the number 4, the letter U, Pain Relief for you. And just send me a private DM, let me know, and we can get you a time to speak, as long as everything fits and whatnot. Other than that, those are the best ways to get a hold of me direct. Now, let's go back to Will. We've had a conversation here for over 30 minutes, and what is the one thing that you would want to have someone take away from this call if they couldn't get anything else? So what's the golden nugget you want them to move forward in life with?
I would invite everyone listening and watching to consider an act of kindness and gentleness they can give themselves in the next 24 hours. Is it to have a massage in Rapid City? Is it to go for a walk in nature? Is it to take up that gratitude practice again, or to recommence your meditation practice, connect with a friend maybe you haven't seen for a while? Do something that's going to nourish your heart and soul, and just be kind and gentle with yourself, because it can be a pretty rough world out there at times, and we need to get into the habit of looking after ourselves and being gentle and kind with ourselves.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you once again for coming out and sharing your story. This will be going out to social medias and whatnot.
Thank you, Guy. I appreciate your patience. I'm glad we got it to work.
Absolutely. And look forward to continuing with you more out on socials and just sharing our circles together.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.